Welcome to this explainer. You know, if ancient texts and apocalyptic prophecies leave you feeling completely overwhelmed, hey, you definitely aren't alone. Today, we're diving into decoding the end times using a really fascinating source called Agents of the Apocalypse. And don't worry, we're not just going to throw a massive theology textbook at you. Instead, we're going to track the actual, real-life, or rather, terrifying characters that are actually driving the story. It's going to be quite a ride.
So kicking things off with Section 1, Decoding the End Times, and making sense of the mystery. It brings up a super compelling question, right? Who exactly are the major players of the end times? I mean, when the world around us starts to feel unpredictable, chaotic, and frankly, just a little bit scary, it's totally natural for us to sit back and wonder if these ancient warnings are actually unfolding right now, right in front of us.
Seriously? Just take a look at your daily news feed. We are constantly bombarded with escalating global tensions, economic struggles, natural disasters, and this constant heavy drumbeat of war. According to our source, it's this sheer weight of modern anxiety, this widespread fear, that is actually driving people right back to these ancient texts. We're all kind of desperate to know, did the Bible actually warn us about these exact events thousands of years ago?
But, well, here's the roadblock we hit. When people actually turn to the book of Revelation to find those answers, they usually just hit a massive brick wall. It is notoriously difficult to decode. It's packed with these really intense warnings and bizarre, complex symbols that feel almost impossible to decipher on your own. It's so tough that it leads a lot of people to just throw their hands up and give up on prophecy altogether.
Moving on to Section 2, the key prophetic figures. It's time to meet the cast.
Now, this is exactly where Agents of the Apocalypse completely flips the script. Instead of getting bogged down in this confusing maze of abstract beasts and dragons, the narrative focuses directly on the agents. We're talking about the key, prophetic, deeply mysterious individuals who are actually pulling the strings and driving the dramatic events of the last days. So who exactly makes up this cast? Well, the book zeroes right in on some major scriptural heavyweights, specifically the Antichrist, the false prophet, and the two witnesses. By anchoring the whole timeline to these very specific players, all those wildly intricate prophecies instantly transform into grounded, character-driven events. It makes so much more sense when you look at it this way.
All right, Section 3, Prophecy as a Story, a truly cinematic approach. Look, traditional theology can be totally academically sound, but let's be real for a second. A dry, verse-by-verse textbook breakdown, that's going to quickly overwhelm almost anyone trying to casually read it. But this source, it takes a completely different route. It uses cinematic storytelling, so instead of just dryly explaining Scripture, it paints these vivid, intense pictures. It unfolds the end times scene by scene, which makes this incredibly complex topic surprisingly easy to grasp. In fact, the author manages to present prophecy, quote, almost like a story unfolding before your eyes. It literally draws you right into a world where ancient scripture and future events connect seamlessly. It keeps you completely hooked. Honestly, it's almost like watching a blockbuster movie, all while staying firmly rooted in actual biblical teachings. Really cool stuff.
Which brings us to Section 4, Finding Hope in Uncertainty, and what we call the reader's journey. So, this whole cinematic approach, it actually triggers a massive shift for the reader. All of a sudden, those super intimidating symbols actually become approachable, and from there, readers find themselves genuinely inspired to open their own Bibles to study. It sparks this brand new sense of spiritual urgency that ultimately ends up shifting their entire perspective on current events. It is a full-on journey, going from total confusion to really active, engaged learning.
And along this journey, you are absolutely plunged into an intense spiritual battle. To be clear, the book doesn't sugarcoat anything. It never shies away from the dark themes of deception and massive judgment that are so prominent in Revelation. But, and this is key, it expertly balances those really heavy moments with themes of faith, ultimate victory, and, most importantly, hope. Because no matter how dramatic or scary the events get, the core message always points toward a hopeful future. Because ultimately, the goal of this book isn't just to act like a crystal ball mapping out tomorrow's news. It goes way deeper than that. It's really about understanding the spiritual significance behind the exact times we are living in right now. It's about finding real context and meaning in a modern world that, let's face it, often feels like it's spinning completely out of control. Which brings us to one final provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer today.
Does understanding these ancient narratives actually change how you view today's headlines? I mean, if you start looking at global tensions and the daily news cycle through the lens of these character-driven prophecies, how does that shift your own perspective? It's a wildly fascinating question, and one that just might invite you to dig in and explore these mysteries for yourself.